So the first thing is, I want to give you that.
I'm sorry, what about this?
Open it up.
Open it up. This is my check?
No, no.
Oh, this one. Okay.
My renewal.
And you know how to spell the whole thing out. You don't just put down SHSNY. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure.
So now you are all caught up.
All
and
caught
your,
up.
membership.
So that's my membership in Shishni, Secular Humanist Society of New York. So I wanted to make sure.
So Secular Humanist Society in New York. How long have you been a member?
I don't know. I was going to ask you. You probably have better records than I do.
Actually, if the camera wasn't in the way, I could get to my computer and I could tell you.
Maybe
I
later
could
we
tell
can
you
figure
when
it
you
out.
first wrote a check.
Yeah. I
The
want to
guy
say it's
who
probably
did it
10
all
years.
before me, John Ahrens,
Yeah.
he kept every detail.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I could tell you.
Now you have it all on the computer, right? Instead of writing it down on a ledger, right?
Right. No.
Well, how long has Secular Humanist Society been around?
Since 1988, and I joined in 98.
Yeah.
In 88, it started, and it was, it grew very, very fast.
Yeah.
Mushroomed.
Yes.
Actually, it was explosive growth for the first few years. There's still a couple of people around.
How many members was it?
Well, they went up to about 200
Yeah.
at that point. It fell back down.
Yeah.
When I joined in 90, no, I shouldn't say when I joined in 98. A couple of years later, when I was on the board,
Yeah.
I found out that membership was 94. Okay, so quite a, they'd gotten into fights.
Yeah.
Things get, things grow, everybody gets excited, everybody's having, this is all wonderful, and then somebody says, yeah, except for you, and except for you, and the next thing, a guy, one of the real motivating guys, and his name has gone right out of my head right now, but while I'm talking, it'll come around again.
He was running it before you?
Huh?
He was running it before you?
Yeah, there were a lot of people running it before me.
Okay. I
Okay.
just didn't know if he was
No,
one
but
of them. Yep.
he was a gay activist, and he was outraged early 90s
Yep.
about the 1990, 1992, about the government doing nothing about AIDS.
Yes.
And he started in the first issues of the newsletter, which he named PIQUE, as a matter of fact. More and more and more, it became a mouthpiece for the gay community downtown. And a couple of the other people on the board said, wait a minute, that's not the only thing. And, then homophobe and son of a bitch, and, and one of the guys who was a landlord suddenly was a slumlord, got to be crazy. Yeah. Membership went down, and like I said, I discovered the whole thing in 98. And it was fun.
Was that Conrad?
No, Conrad was on the board when I there.
Right,
Now,
much
Conrad
later. Okay,
was
great.
the vice president when I came on, and he and I were the young kids. We were in our 60s. Okay, somebody put me on the mailing list for the newsletter. Okay, and so I'm getting the newsletter. That's interesting. And then I hear then one of the issues says that there's going to be a lecture on consilience at the 92nd Street Y.
Consilience? Can you just
Consilience, okay. That's
define the
point.
word?
Forget it. It was a buzzword of the late 90s.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about how consilience was the answer to everything. I sat through the whole damn lecture by E.O. Wilson, who's a big man. I still couldn't tell you what the hell it is. The notice said, and some of us are going to meet for lunch at a bar across the street from the 92nd Street Y. I said, I ought to get to know these people, and the bar sounds good, Sunday afternoon. So I went up, and I look in, and there's a few tables around. There's one big table with about a dozen people around who are either gray-haired or bald.
Yes.
Okay, and so I walk over and I said, "Is this the Misfits and what did I say? The Misfits Marching Society, something like that." And they all started to laugh. I figured, okay, these people are okay. And I got to, little bit by little bit. Next thing I know, I was invited to be on the board. And John Ahrens, who was the editor of the newsletter, after I'd written a couple of things for the newsletter, he said, "My eyesight is going. I need somebody to start taking over for me." So in November of 2002, I took over the newsletter, still do it. 2007, President resigned in a snit because he wasn't being appreciated. I said, "I nominate Conrad," and Conrad took over. I became the secretary. But I used to tell everybody, Joseph Stalin was only the secretary of the Soviet Communist Party.
So the secretary had
I
all
said,
the power.
So, and then Conrad, needed work, and he just, so he drifted away. And
Yeah.
next
So
thing I know,
you were president from when to when?
I was president from 2007 until a couple of months ago.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I started about 5 or 6 years ago saying to everybody, "You got to take this away. You got to,
Yeah.
I'm going to get
Move on to
hit
the
by a
next
truck. Something's going to happen, and you got me doing everything."
And
everybody
how old
would
are you now?
Yeah, everybody would sort of go like this. I am now President Emeritus.
There you go.
Okay, which means that I'm divesting. I'm getting rid of, and
But you're still doing PIQUE, right?
I want to do that until I die.
Yeah, that's great.
All my life I've been a paid writer. That's what I've done. And of course, in the advertising business and the magazine business and the book publishing business, there's always writing for people who said, "Well, don't you think you could improve it if we just change this?" I'd say no, and I'd fight with them. Everything else. Finally, it comes to this. I'm doing this. For that, I used to get paid a lot. For this, I get paid nothing. But I write what I want, when I want, and nobody says a thing. And by the way, no false modesty. A lot of people like it.
Yes,
and
they do.
a lot of people tell me I read it front to back as soon as I get it. So that's very satisfying.
I
that's
read
what
it every month when I get it.
I know
and
you
stuff.
do.
Some of it's I pick up online and stuff, like when I was
Yeah.
traveling. But now that I get back in the mail and I can get it right away, and I can read it. So we'll get back to the PIQUE a little bit in a few minutes and stuff. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about who you are in terms of your thought process, and then talk a little bit more about how you view the world and what your take is on it. And I think that
Okay.
We'll do that. And first I wanted to ask, are you an atheist?
Does the Pope shit in the woods?
I take that as a yes. Are you a humanist?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that was until I started getting the newsletter. And then I realized, that's exactly what I am. And it's
Great.
amazing. A number of people who we built back up to almost 200 in terms of paid membership. But now, through social media, we're up to 400. But,
Nice.
I only count the people who pay the money.
Exactly. Paid members.
But over and over again, I've heard people say the same thing that I said at the beginning. Oh, that's what I am. I didn't know what I was. I'm a humanist. And my late wife, Donna Marxer, used to say, a secular humanist is an atheist with good manners.
I like that.
And that works pretty well.
So would you also describe yourself as like a secularist?
Absolutely. My own background was, a little bit like yours. I mean, from a Catholic background,
Yep.
but my parents didn't push it.
You were a cat licker too? Yes.
Yeah, right. So I just didn't pay much attention to it. As a matter of fact, I had the usual bad experiences with the church and, just ignored it, the hell with it. Married a Jewish girl. We agreed that the kids whatever kids we had, would be brought up with no religion because we didn't care about it.
Yep.
I paid no attention to it. And I had 4 kids. And they all have kids, and none of them any religion whatsoever.
All secularist,
All
humanist,
all secular
all humanist, atheist.
And so I found out what I was. But the thing that got me started,
Yeah.
the early 90s, I'm reading the Times one morning, and on an inside page, like 12 or 14 or something like that, I see a picture. And it's of 40 some odd representatives and senators standing on the steps of the Capitol at a demonstration to honor the Reverend Sun Young Moon, who is a lunatic. Is he alive yet still? I don't
I don't
remember.
think so.
Huh?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But the guy actually believed he was God,
Yeah.
okay? He was also a tax thief and went to prison for it. And there's 40 some odd representatives of my government there to honor him. And I thought, what the hell is going on? What is going on in my country? And like I say, this is the early 90s, and we had Jerry Falwell and Newt Gingrich, who were screaming that really secular humanism, quote unquote, secular humanism is the worst problem the country has ever faced. Newt Gingrich actually said on television once, secular humanism in America is a greater threat than Nazi Germany and Soviet communism ever was.
Wow.
And George Stephanopoulos looked at him and said, you really think that?
Exactly.
Absolutely. So I figured I ought to know these people. If Newt Gingrich doesn't like them, I ought to know.
Yeah.
So that's why I somehow did something or other that somebody put me on the mailing list for the newsletter, and that started the ball rolling.
Wow.
That's how I got here.
Would you also describe yourself as a skeptic in terms of a philosophy?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes, I am a skeptic. Yes, I believe that we believe in things that we can prove, that we have evidence for, which is the basis, which is the soul, if you want to use that word, of skepticism.
And you would call yourself pro-science
Oh, absolutely.
and follow the scientific method
As much
of
as I
understanding.
can. I am a graduate of the Bronx High School of Science.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm a subscriber to Scientific American. I can even understand 1 or 2 articles every month. One.
So how would you describe yourself in terms of how you view your personal philosophy to, let's say, government?
I'm an old man who was raised during the Depression. Not that it meant much to me. We weren't poor. But I grew up in a neighborhood, working class Italian American neighborhood, where the most kitchens had 2 pictures, usually from the front page cover of the New York Daily News, Sunday News, rotogravure.
Yeah.
And these would get cut out, framed, and put the Pope and Franklin Roosevelt. Okay?
And you had those in your kitchen?
No, my mother was
Neither one of them.
putting something, never like that. No, but the point being, I grew up in a working class Democratic neighborhood. I have been a Democrat before I knew what a Democrat was. I'm more liberal than most Democrats, not much, but left of center.
Of the current center.
Yeah, of the current center. Got the classic liberal education, and so became a semi-socialist, but not really. I was a business owner for 18 years, so.
So if you were going to describe your democratic viewpoint or being a Democrat, comparing that to your philosophy of atheism, humanism, how would you let other people know that your atheism and your humanism informs you of your political views?
My political views came first because, as I say, I just paid no attention to religion. It just wasn't important to me.
So you were like a Democrat and
Yeah, I was
and
a
a progressive
Democrat,
or so
I-
first, and then later you were
Yeah.
identifying more as a humanist.
I'm a leftist liberal.
Yeah.
Let's put aside Democrat. Forget it. Forget it. I'm a leftist liberal.
Yes.
Okay.
So how does your humanism support your leftist liberal viewpoint?
I suppose they prop each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think they intersect so much with each other?
Go to any free thought organization, get together of any kind. Try to find a Republican.
Yeah.
Try to find a conservative.
Yeah.
I have run
There's some libertarians involved.
A libertarian's
There's
different,
difference, yes.
Massimo Pigliucci one time said that the libertarian defined a libertarian as once the police force, he doesn't think they should have to control his slaves. I can't buy libertarianism. The cartoon I loved was of the guy standing in front of his burning house and saying to the fireman, no, I'm a libertarian.
Stay off my property.
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
my
yeah,
own
yeah.
thing.
I wrote a little thing
Yeah.
12 years ago at least for the newsletter because I saw in a newsletter from the Midwest,
Yeah.
but somebody had written in one of those newsletters that he and his wife had gone to a humanist meeting because they thought this is our kind of thing. And they went in and he said, what I was disappointed was to find out that I had actually walked into a meeting of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. He said, we're conservatives and everything else. Okay. And I thought about that, and I wrote a piece titled, Can Conservatives Publish in PIQUE,
Yeah.
our newsletter, which I said, yeah, exactly. We want more.
Yeah.
We don't want fewer people. We want more people. But you got to clean up your mess, and you got to stop with the crap that you hand out. And I've run that, I think, now 3 times. Every few years, I run
So
it again.
a humanist
'Cause I got the same
could be
thing.
a conservative if it wasn't religious.
I don't have a problem, really, with classic conservatives. I don't agree with them, but I can understand people who want lower taxes, smaller government, while also good defense. I understand that. I don't agree. I think we need bigger government. I think that we need taxes to pay for more government services that will tighten our societal bonds. I'm not worried about defense very much. We spend too much money on it already. But I do understand their thinking. Right now, what's been going on for the last 10, 15 years on the right is lunacy. It's absolute lunacy. And that I just can't go with.
How do you view your personal ethics in terms of how a business is run?
That's almost a contradiction in terms.
How so?
Because business is about making a profit. Business is about money, first, last, and always. If you are
You think that's the only reason?
No,
for a
not
business?
the only thing.
Okay.
But if you're not making money, you're not going to stay in business. Period. If what you're doing is saving the planet, but not making money, you're out of business. Period. And so very often you get into a situation where you have to make a decision.
Yep.
And I've had the situation where I thought I had a client in my small advertising promotion business in the magazine business. I had a unique little niche in the business. My first experience in the business was as an advertising copywriter at Esquire magazine. Subsequently, after
Are they still
this,
around?
huh?
Is Esquire still around? I don't
Oh yeah,
know.
it's still around. It's still around. Hearst owns it now. When I
Maybe it's online. I don't know.
when I worked for it, it was Esquire Inc. In the '60s, it was the hottest magazine in America, without question. But anyway, I learned to sell advertising in magazines. And several years later, after I left and went here and there and other places, I realized, why didn't I go back to what I really know? Which I did. And I had a small agency whose clients were magazines.
Yeah.
And for instance, the biggest name I ever had was Newsweek. In the 18 years, I would say at least 24 times I woke up in the middle of the night, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday or a Tuesday with my stomach going like this.
Yeah.
How am I going to make the payroll
Yeah.
on Friday?
Yeah.
But I did for 18 years.
So you were seeing in the times when you were trying to make this advertising and get it into one publication or another publication, and you were helping them expound upon the virtues of their business so they could get into one or the other. You were making a lot of decisions about what was right, what wasn't right, what was
exactly.
going to be effective and whatnot and stuff in order for you to make a business.
Yeah,
The client, who is a customer who's selling them to the end consumer and stuff, they're trying to sell their particular product
right.
and stuff. This currently in our culture now, there's a lot of information coming to the end user about where that product comes from, how it's made. Is it from ethical sources? Do they farm it in a way that's good for the environment, or is it made with child labor, or do people get paid a fair wage, or do they do it in a sweatshop? These are a lot of things that, as a humanist, we're seeing a lot more to the end consumer and stuff. In the '60s, that was nobody knew, or really cared, right?
Yeah, there are more.
Where it came from.
What you're talking about is there are more concerns now.
Yes.
We didn't have back then, because there was a lot of stuff that just wasn't. If you would have said to someone that is a genetically modified organism in 1965 or even 75, most people would look at you like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What is that? Okay.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that we have been genetically modifying plants since 5000 BC. Okay,
Yes.
but okay. I'll tell you a story. Just before I went in business for myself, I worked for a small agency. The two partners brought in a new guy who had been hotshot in the travel business, and this guy was going to bring in travel business, and we're going to get ourselves an airline, and we're going to get ourselves a hotel chain, and
Yeah.
But anyway, he comes in and he's got what was it called? It was called Air Hatia or Haitian Airlines, I forget what.
Yeah.
They were even invited to make a pitch. And so five of us, the two owners, him, and one of the account men, my dear friend Earl Millman, and me, the creative director. We decide, okay, 6 o'clock we'll order in dinner. We'll sit around. We'll develop ideas and come out of it. And then the next day, I will, with a couple other people, I'll write up the proposals. The meeting lasted 15 minutes.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Because we all had the same thought. And finally, it wasn't me, I forget who it was, but one of us said, do we really want to work for the Duvaliers?
Ah.
Papa Doc was dead. Baby Doc was in running things. And we said, no,
You guys made a
don't care
decision
what it
about
is. We don't want to work for them.
Yeah.
Meeting over in 15 minutes. Gone. We all went home. That's it. You do make decisions.
Yeah.
You decide, I'm not working for the Duvaliers. Period.
Yeah.
That's it.
There is currently in culture, so talking maybe a little bit about humanism and what people do, is there's what they call this cancel culture now going on. You familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so this is where if somebody does something wrong, a lot of people pile on and say that basically they don't want anybody to do anything with that particular person anymore, ever. There's no forgiveness, there's no understanding, it's immediate, it's harsh, and
Woody Allen, Al Franken.
yes,
Okay.
that's, well, I think some of them, like Woody Allen, still, still a lot of people are fans of
Me
this.
too.
And this is something that, in terms as a humanist, how would you differentiate yourself between being a fan either of whether it's food or a service or art? You have the creator or provider that you're having a problem with, and then you have you like what they're doing or like what they provide and stuff. How, as a humanist, to navigate those kind of ethical choices?
This is something that we in the Secular Humanist Society of New York have been very involved in right now. On Sunday, we had our monthly brunch, and I forget what the topic was supposed to be, but it instantly became this. And we had 20 people in the back room of the saloon, and we were talking about this, which we had done the month before too. But this is at one of the book clubs during the month, the same topic. What do you do? Where do you draw the line?
How does
My
a humanist
refrain on this
do
thing
that?
was, I'm not going to stop reading T.S. Eliot. I'm not going to stop listening to the music of Richard Wagner. Both of them dreadful goddamn anti-Semites, okay? I am not going to pull down the statues of George Washington because he owned slaves. I'm not, because they did other things that are important too. We can't trust what we see online.
Yep.
We cannot. The joke is, Abraham Lincoln said, don't trust everything you see on YouTube. Okay. All right.
He was a little ahead of his time, wasn't he?
When you read something online, you see something on your smartphone, and you say, well, there it is. But how do you know?
So how does a humanist look at that? How does a humanist navigate?
With worrying, with a great big cloud of worry over my head. What do I get to believe in when somebody says, okay, let's take a bad one. Let's take Monsanto, okay? Anything anybody says about Monsanto, you'll say, yeah, probably. They're probably doing it, the bastards. On the other hand, if you read online or on your smartphone, you read that DuPont, another chemical company, is doing this or that. How do you know? How do you know it isn't somebody who's got a bug up their behind about DuPont? Or how do you know it's not from a disinformation campaign? Or I watched the Mueller analysis of interviews today. How do you know it's not that what you just read about the latest scandal, the latest political scandal? Yeah. How do you know it's not part of a disinformation campaign from the Russians or from the Chinese or from whatever party you don't belong to?
So how does a humanist or a secularist or somebody who's looking at their own personal philosophy build upon that to say, how do I view this? How do I navigate all this?
With skepticism. You asked me if I was a skeptic.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. You hold everything in abeyance and say, wait a minute, let me find out. And the more frightful the thing is, the more you got to say, I got to turn on my shit detector.
Yeah.
I really got to find out what the hell is going on.
I think we have our shit detectors on so much, we're just on the toilet all the time now. It's just so crazy about how often we
Well,
are
it's
seeing
comfortable
this
there.
stuff. It is comfortable, and I find myself like, holy cow, it's going on a lot and stuff. But
Yeah.
to navigate that as a person who is now inundated with information from the internet and news media and different news outlets. It's difficult for somebody to say, how do I try to understand this? And it's easy for people to say, I give up, or some people say, well, I just choose to go all in this direction and stuff. What
Yeah.
would be your advice to that particular person who is
To which person? The one who gives up?
well, the person who's trying to make that decision? Do I give up? Do I just take all of this viewpoint? Do I really try to engage myself in trying to understand that, which takes time, effort, and energy? And it's like a person has to make a choice about it. Some things people might be more interested in, like Kim Kardashian, or some people might be interested in what Bill Gates is doing or
Yeah.
something. There's a lot of people that say Bill Gates is the worst thing in the world, but he's got a big foundation in helping people. It's a lot to navigate as a individual. Going forward in the future, how would you tell your grandchild how to navigate the world with all this information?
You got it backwards. My grandchildren, and I'm not making a joke, my grandchildren are teaching me how to navigate. The world is changing so fast, I can't keep up.
Yeah.
And my grandchildren, and I got 8 of them, I'm getting most of my new information from them.
Yeah.
Most of my new ideas, I'm getting from them.
Do you have an example of that, or?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say, but
How do you think that they're navigating this world or living in with omni-channels
they're
of
faster,
information?
They're faster and they're beyond me. But they're all over the world. They're all over the world. They've been on every continent.
Yeah.
They've been to dozens of different countries. They have a global attitude, which I do not have. Okay? I've been to Paris 12 times, maybe.
Yeah.
10 at least. But to me, getting on a plane to go to Paris, it's still a big deal. My point being, though, that to me, going to Paris or Rio or Cairo, Vienna, Norway, to pick a few places I've
in
been,
Europe, yeah.
it's still a big deal.
Yeah.
They have been all over, and their attitude is nothing. That's,
Go for the weekend.
exactly. And of course, they know things about technology that I'm not even going to try to learn. What's the point?
And they are also getting exposed to
their-
a lot of cultures.
Starting with their smartphones.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to wrap up with you is that you have spent quite a bit of your time and effort and energy to help the secular community. And on behalf of the secular community, if I can make such a presumption, I wanted to thank you and say how it's been a pleasure working with you on different projects over the years, and I want to thank you for your time, effort, and energy, the work you put into PIQUE, and you're still doing that. We wanted to say thank you very much for doing that. It's much appreciated. It is often thankless in a lot of ways, and I wanted to say to you from the greater community, because I know that they feel the same way, that they want to say thank you for your time, your effort, your energy, what you've done, what you continue to do, and your time as running a leading organization here in New York.
The leading organization.
The leading, there might be other people that say otherwise, but I'm not going to get, last time I got involved with that, I got kicked out of one of them.
I know.
So, but I wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to say how much I appreciated your friendship and guidance over the years, and I wanted to, we all miss Donna. She was a great person to be involved with, and what you've done over the period of time has been important and meant a lot to me personally, and I know a lot of other people appreciate what you do, and I want to say thank you. Thank you very, very,
You're welcome.
very,
Now,
very much.
don't turn off the camera,
Oh, okay.
because I'm going to give it right back to you. You talking for the
This is our
larger
interview
community.
view.
There would be no larger community if it wasn't for you.
Yeah,
Do you remember your own concept, Richie's List?
yeah,
There were all the organizations in the city,
Yep.
15 years ago, was it? Closer maybe to 20 years ago. And you were the one who said, why don't we all get together?
Yep.
And you published Richie's List.
Yep.
And you got everybody together, including in your backyard
Yeah.
with beers and barbecue.
Yep.
And we all sat down for the first time and talked to each other.
Yep.
You started it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, and you were a big part of being involved with that, and your guidance and help during the formation of that. And it's key that everybody understands your particular involvement and your legacy
Thank you.
of what you've done over the years. And we
Okay.
all thank you very, very, very much.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
And he paid his dues.